suggestions, get everything. Is that Miss? I can't remember her first name. It's great.
Yeah.
Is she? Oh, okay.
I know.
Because that was.
I was like, write this down.
Because that's a really good place to start. It's really tough for us to just listen to complaints without knowing the solution. So if you can present what you feel like is a good solution, then that helps us going forward to get things done that need to be done. If it's just complain, we're just gonna keep throwing it on the back burner probably. If there's a positive solution, that's the best way to do it.
That's
So
why
that was-
I needed all these people here because I don't have the solutions, but hopefully these people.
You've suggested a lot of good
Who?
solutions.
Oh, are you?
Hi, Stacy.
Yes, I am.
Thank
Hi,
you
guys.
so much. So this is Stacy. She's the new Parks and Rec
Director, yes.
director.
And this is David Ashton. He's the Parks Superintendent.
Okay.
So you got the right people here.
We're new, so she's amazing. She's called me, and this is Stephen White. He's our representative up at the legislature, the state one, but he represents Springville, all of Springville, right?
Yeah, about half of Springville.
Oh, happens to
No, really good. All right.
Okay, awesome. And then this is
Chris
Councilmember
Sorensen. Chris Sorensen.
Sorensen. And then this is Craig Conover. And this is Councilmember Snelson. And he's awesome.
Chris Sorensen is on the council as well, and he and I work together on the PAR
Trails.
board.
Okay,
Mhm.
so they are on the committee for trails and parks, and they will vote for what is already happening. They've been planning for a year for the budget, right? And they said we need
Pretty
at
close.
least
It takes a long
3
time.
council members to vote on June 31st, which he is skeptical that would happen. However, we all voted for a PAR tax, which is Parks, Arts, and Recreation tax that has just started accumulating. So by next year, they'll have about $400,000 to spend.
Yeah, we're not quoting any
Okay.
amount
Sorry.
because we simply don't
Hundreds of
know what
thousands.
sales are going to do.
Who represents this area? Like which council?
It's all the same.
It's all
You guys don't have
it's all at
districts.
large. Yeah, we
That's
don't have
probably
districts.
why they're-
Well, he doesn't
What?
want to talk about that.
We have a councilman that lives on this side of town. We do.
They just
We
appointed
got you a
one.
nice rec center on this side.
I'm not from
Which
here.
is that's a different thing, though.
I know.
That actually
I-
brings in revenue.
I
so
wanted
that's different.
to say one thing about the budget. As much as we wish we could put it in right now, the budget's all set and get approved.
But it's not
there-
set yet because you voted.
It's right now it's a tentative budget.
Yeah.
But everything's been worked through and hashed over.
Right. And you guys worked hard on
There
that.
there could be changes, but it's not likely.
I thought that there was.
But there is like a COVID grant, right?
Mhm.
That are you spending any of that money?
I think they are.
So
But
yeah.
that's not
So there
from
was
funds.
there was $600,000 that is one-time funding
Right.
that is budgeted. That's already budgeted.
And anything we can afford to do, we would
I
100%
sent-
vote for it. I'm not
I
saying that.
sent Natasha
we
a
wouldn't do
copy
it,
of the budget, so
But
you can
so
take
you
a
know,
look
the
at
budget
it.
has been set. It's just not been voted.
Well, that's what just so
It's-
that they are aware.
There is some for community park. There's about, if I recall, there's about $400,000 of it for community park. And by the way,
So that's
It's on-
where the soccer fields are.
it's
Here
way,
at the end, if you go all the way to.
it's what?
So it's not here.
So if you look at,
Well, it's not
so
right here, no.
community park, if you look at the map, is up in this west corner.
6 years ago and every year after that the city had appropriated $20,000 to put into this area, but because $20,000 wouldn't do anything, they just spent it in other areas instead of putting it in. Now, if you'd have taken $20,000 each year and done a little bit at a time, we would have had $12,000 in this area by now.
Okay, somebody
Or
writing this down?
$120,000.
Somebody writing this down?
I am.
I don't know about that. I wasn't in office then, so I don't know what the conversation was or who it was with.
It was with Bradley Neal, I'll tell you that.
Yeah, I do want to say this, Councilmember Nelson is different than the people I have worked with.
Well,
I do
you're
have to say
here.
that.
So,
Appreciate that.
so
And this
I,
is the second year in a row that he's come out here for me, so, and for
Would-
all of us.
Should
So
we
I
be
do-
walking as we talk?
Right. I just wanted to like, so we still can, like, because the Partax, they are having a meeting this month on the 25th, and we can present these ideas that we want. I would have like a folder or something with all the things and then present it. We have 3 minutes.
We would give you more than
provide-
3 minutes.
Actually, we probably wouldn't because we will have a pretty full agenda next
But
time.
we'll get to see what other people are presenting and what money.
No, that's not. We're not doing anything with Partax money until
Right.
2023.
But like you just
So
said,
what-
it takes about a year to establish these things
Yeah.
that are locked in place, right?
Right, but in terms of applications for the Partax money, that is not going to happen until January or February of 2023. What I asked you to do is come to the park board meeting to present your ideas and what you want to have happen here in the Dry Creek area, so the park committee understands what it is that the citizens here want. And then that way they can have a more full understanding of what is wanted, what's needed here on up there, down there, across the freeway, everywhere that we have parks, arts, and recreation. The Partax isn't just for parks, it's for recreation and art as well. And so we have a Partax amount, whatever that might be. It could be anywhere from $400,000 to $700,000 depending on sales. So we have no idea what the budget for the Partax is, but that amount of money, whatever it might be, is going to be spread around to a lot of requests, to a lot of applicants.
I don't know. I've lived here for 12 years. We've waited for a long time. This has been the reality of this area. A lot of years. And you're voting on a budget. We want to try to convince you to change the budget. Yeah.
I didn't want to interrupt.
No, you're good. Yes.
I know that it's a good idea for us to come up with solutions and then present them to you. In the past, we've done that, and then when we presented the problems, we had realizations of things we didn't know before.
Right.
Like the
Yes.
alkaline, you
Yes.
can't plant certain things.
Right.
Are there any restrictions that we should know beforehand so that our suggestions are viable?
Right.
Yeah, we're not going to put grass in here.
Right.
We're not going to
Exactly.
put. We're
So,
not going to put
do you know
turf.
any other-
I should say we're not going to put turf grass in here because it takes a lot of water, and obviously we're in a drought, and that looks like it's going to continue. So that won't happen. The other issue with this whole thing, at least from what I understood from Bradley Neal, is that when this was created, there wasn't irrigation systems put in. Whenever it was, I don't know how long it's been. 10 years.
16 years.
Whenever this was put in. The developer put it in, turned it over to the city, so it is the city's property. However, as the developer continued to develop after it was put in, that irrigation system was cut off and nobody knows where the source is, at least that
we
I
need-
know of.
So what part of the funding that we need would be like a engineer or like a contractor or a, right? That's,
I guess,
that would make sense.
that makes sense. I don't know how to positively answer that, but somebody has got to figure out where the irrigation system is. I mean, I know it's,
Okay.
He said they just have to hook it up.
Yeah. Okay. So
and if that's where it is, that's great. Like I say, I just don't know. I know that.
that's part of it. And I think that's a really
And it's a
good
natural water source, so
thing
it's
to
not money.
bring up because we can have ideas all day, but like what I keep running into is I actually need a landscaper and an engineer to tell me.
That's,
Like I've spent hours and hours and years on this, and it goes nowhere. So why I need city help is because I need you guys to hire someone to come out.
It needs to be redesigned.
yeah, it does. It does, and that's absolutely true. The thing that I'm asking to present a solution is just tell us what you want,
Right.
and then we can go from there and determine if what you want is feasible to do.
Well, first of all, I want a big pergola.
But there are some really good ideas on that paper that we just handed you. That it's a prospectus there of some ideas, and those are practical
Okay.
ideas
We don't have time because we all are moms and we have kids that are
coming up from
okay,
school.
I'll be there in 5 minutes.
We've got time.
But did anybody want to? Honestly, I want a big pergola here
We have 30 minutes.
with a big sign that says "Drive Free."
Just write down all your wants based on what we've already talked about, and we'll just take it from there and determine what can happen. And if we can't meet what you want, we'll tell you why.
Okay.
We won't just say no, you can't have it because of budget reasons. We're not gonna. We'll explain if it's a budget thing why we can't do that. If it's not feasible for whatever other reason, we'll explain why.
Okay.
But just, we need your wants. We need to know what's going on down here, or we're just shooting in
But
the dark.
it's pretty obvious that something really needs to happen.
It is.
We don't have to.
Thank you. Also, obviously we're all standing here in the sun. I think shade, right? Would everyone agree?
There is no shade,
From
not
trees
an
And
ounce.
there's trees over there that are growing without irrigation, so why can't we put some other
So-
trees in there that are?
One of the main things I think is doing Utah-friendly things that don't need a lot of water, but that thrive here, right? If you read on
Zero
the-
scaping.
the zero scaping.
I was told that one of the reasons that all of this was growing wild was because we all wanted it that way. And I said, I was never approached to be asked that question, and everyone I have asked in our neighborhood up there said, we were never asked. So why are we just getting all of these weeds
Did you want to
and
get through?
everything else?
No,
Yeah, I don't know how to answer that. I don't have the
either.
answer.
It's like, well, if we're gonna poll everybody, let's poll everybody, because I'm thinking the ones that want it left wild are the ones that want to park all their crap
Yeah,
behind
do-
their houses.
We'll do it.
That
Do
is happening as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
But I think
Take a poll
really
of the neighborhood.
important point that Natasha has made is that it is in the city code that they will have a park or try to have a park for every, what is it, 5,000?
5 acres.
It's
per-
5
5
acres
acres
per,
per
it's 5
1,000.
acres per
And that
thousand.
has not happened in this
Right.
area.
So my thing would be, why
I
aren't
think
we
that's
the priority?
Well, okay,
important.
so the city code says 5 acres per 1,000 residents. We have met that.
But
Whether,
it's all on the east,
well,
right?
okay, let's,
There's a map.
Okay,
let's settle down and let me just explain. No,
So that
no, it's, yeah, the way I understand the city code is it's 5 acres per 1,000 people, and we have met that with our properties. But that doesn't necessarily mean in a neighborhood. Now, that having said that, if you'll take a look at the new Parks and Trails Master Plan, you'll see that there are all the parks that the consultant is suggesting is down here.
Yeah. Was that in the 30-year plan?
What's that?
Is there land secured for that?
No, we can't,
So-
not yet.
So that's
I mean, the
what I
Parks
want
and
to.
Trails Master Plan is brand new. It hasn't even been adopted by the city council yet.
So
So it says 5 acres, including this parcel up here where the new development's going across from school,
It
because that
is.
is 5 acres.
It is.
So there's a 5 acre.
but then they're also putting in over 1,000 residents too, so that will
Well, somebody lied to you. The
veto
city's not
that
going to build
area,
a 20-acre
right?
park.
For us.
It's just not gonna happen.
Over 1,000
Of
residents.
residents, right?
Yeah, it is.
It's-
Yeah, you're right.
They're talking about what David Simpson's developing down there. Yeah, but I've heard, and like what she's saying, somebody told them that there was going to be a park there. They assumed it was going to be a 20-acre green space park. No, it'll be 5 acres.
This is Melissa, and she has something else to say.
Hi, Melissa.
I know it's a good idea for us to collect and get our thoughts, and we can do that as a community. But again, when is it that we present it to you, and what is the
So our par board meetings, that's Parks, Arts, and Recreation. We have a board of 17 people, 17 citizens, plus Councilmember Sorensen and myself, plus Stacy and Dave and 3 other staff members.
So how many of those represent this side that live over here that are on that board?
I'd have
17.
to
I
count.
know
those
that
out.
We make sure that
Himina
there were
is on that board.
a fair number.
Is she the only
Jimena?
one?
I told her to,
We have-
Jimena,
Bishop.
she was going to come. I don't know.
That's not an election, it's an appointment. So Chris and I built the PAR board with the idea of having a diverse population on the board. By diverse, I mean there are young people, there's old people, there's people from this area, there's people from that area. There are diverse backgrounds and all kinds of things. We've had a couple of meetings already, and I gotta say, I'm gonna pat myself on the back. We did a really good job putting that board together, and they're very concerned about what happens in Springville.
And so when are they meeting?
So we meet on the fourth Thursday at 5:45 in the multi-purpose room. Tuesday.
Fourth
yeah.
Tuesday,
Sorry.
5:45.
And is that
Multi-purpose
Getting
room.
mixed up.
all meetings, is that open to anybody who wants to
It's an
attend?
open public
Fourth
meeting.
Tuesday.
However, so it's a board
3 minutes.
meeting. Now, please don't anybody interrupt me while I explain this, because I want to get this through your heads so that you understand when you come how it functions. Our board meeting functions a lot like city council meeting. So it's not an open public comment discussion period. So it's a board meeting that the members of the board have to go through an agenda and discuss what's on the agenda. We do have a public comment period, just like in a city council meeting, where we allow the public to comment for 3 minutes per person or subject. Like if all of you come to our next PAR meeting, that's great. But you're all gonna want to talk about the same thing. We don't have time for that. And so if everybody can come as a support for the person that's doing the presenting, but that person has the floor, that person presents to the PAR board, the PAR board listens to the person, and that's the end of it. There are notes taken, there are minutes taken. The presenter is allowed 3 minutes unless the chairman of the PAR board determines that it needs to go a little bit longer. But we do have agenda items that have to be discussed, and that takes priority. But we do want public input. We relish public input. We have to have public input so that we know what to do with our long-term plans. So please come, please present, but if it's all the same subject, like the Dry Creek Park trail system here, we only need one presenter. But if that's going to be Natasha, for example, she's going to have all the notes from all of your input, and you're there to show the PAR board how much support there is for what you want to have happen. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
How many meetings do we need to go to? The last year, too, we went to multiple meetings of it and nothing came of it. So is it like a thing where you need to go for like a year to make a point? Or how many meetings?
Well, you're certainly welcome anytime.
That's a big commitment, you know?
Yeah,
Are the
It is.
agendas published
that-
beforehand, like city council agendas?
they are. Yeah, they have to be,
How-
because it's an open public meeting. They're posted at least 24 hours prior.
I think his question was addressing, you can come to meetings, but that doesn't do anything.
How do we get to be one of the
Well-
agenda items instead
Yes.
of being at the end with our 3 minutes? Can
Well,
we
you're
be
not-
on
you're-
the
Actually,
agenda?
the public comment is at the beginning.
Oh, at the beginning.
At the
Oh, that's
beginning.
nice.
No, but they still don't have.
That's nice, but and I appreciate that you're having these meetings, that you
Because
have a
the
divorce
public-
board. I love it. How do we get on the
public comment
agenda?
Part of the
Hold on,
agenda.
let her finish.
Oh, sorry. Just wondering how we get not just in the public comment part, but how do we get like on the actual
As
like
an
if
agenda
we're
item.
an agenda item. Yeah. Can we be an agenda
You
item?
can talk to me. You can talk to.
That's what we're
You
doing.
can talk.
All right.
You can talk to the chairman of the PAR board. You can talk to Chris. You can talk to Stacy.
What makes it feel
All right,
more
we'll do.
like it's serious? Or
Like to have tea.
That's what we're doing.
When all of you show up in support of Natasha when she presents,
Well,
so
what's this?
having a lot of people at one meeting would
makes a
be
huge difference.
So for people who can't attend this meeting, is that what you would recommend, that they come to the next fourth Tuesday at 5:45 to support Natasha for her 3 minutes, and then continue looking at agenda items and see if we pop up as an agenda item?
That'd be a great way to do it. Yeah. And if
Or
you,
was that a
No, that's a good question. I'm
And
just, so how does action actually happen? How did the people that you're actually funding on June 31st that we can't take priority over? How did they get on your budget sheet?
That has just been a decision based on staff and council decisions
So
that are made.
not like
staff,
We take a look,
nobody mentioned the Dry Creek area.
nobody mentioned the Dry Creek area.
So last year, me starting those meetings, you didn't bring it up.
What's that?
You didn't bring up the Dry Creek area, even though I asked you to last year. And Mr. Neal also said that he would put me on, like put this area on.
Didn't happen.
So it didn't
So,
happen. So it basically you didn't do it, and you didn't do it. So
well,
we're
Chris
here
didn't.
to ask you.
This is the first time I
Chris
ever heard
didn't
that.
know about it. So yes, I'll take responsibility for that. But let me help you understand how to help me not forget to do that. So if you're coming to par board meetings, and if you're writing me emails and contacting
But I'm
me,
talking about not even the park tax. I'm talking about
I know
like the budget for Springville
Yeah.
taxes.
for sure.
Yeah,
It's
so
all the same thing.
the
The part tax
park
is going to be part of the budget anyway. So, but the general fund type budgeting process.
I
I
don't
have a
have,
question.
Okay.
I feel maybe I don't have the numbers, but it seems most of the children come from this area of Springville. We have a ton of
Yeah, I don't know.
Every ward in our church has like 6 nurseries, so tons of kids. But the parks seem to not be coming here where all the kids are.
Okay, so
They have nowhere to play.
Streets
so
and
I
streets.
can-
So how do we?
Build in
I can
here.
address that.
And it's been that way for 12 years.
Okay, so Chris and I grew up here in Springville. There were no residences down here.
okay, but I don't want to go into the history because
I-
there
I-
are residences here now.
I know. I kind of need to
Okay.
because
But
just to
other
let.
people are getting parks and we're not, and that's
Well,
my
Like
Well,
even now, like they're
that's
not.
the
the
part
problem
where I'm
is
just
in the
like, if
past-
nobody was getting a park, okay, but when they're getting parks, but we have all the kids, that's where I'm kind of like,
In the past, they
Why?
required developers to, if they were putting a certain amount of houses in, to put some green space. And they haven't required any of these developers to do that.
no, yeah.
And that's part of the problem, like all the impact fees. They haven't required the builders to put anything in. The only reason they did down there was because there was a fight. But all these builders, Bob Combs, all of them, none of them have put any green space in. So where are the impact fees going?
Okay, so this builder down here that's developing now, there was always a park there because it is required. So the green space that's been put in here are catch basins, things like that. They're not parks with playgrounds. There's things like that.
It's not usable.
There's one green over there. Is this
What's a
considered
catch base?
The one that goes down. Detention.
It's those
like
detention
under the big,
basins.
Okay.
under the big wires?
It's
I
kind of
thought
a
you meant
flood.
like a baseball.
It's kind of a flood
That
protection
sounds
thing.
like what you're saying is because we have so many parks over there, it meets the requirement of our whole citizenship of Springville.
Yeah, but can I
Right. Yeah.
address that without
Okay.
being interrupted?
Sure.
Okay. Okay, and if I am, I'll just shut up and let you go. But if you're asking a question, I'd really appreciate the opportunity to answer it. Okay? So, the development, so the first question was the development down here and the issue with that and everything there. So, that developer had a park planned to go in there. It wasn't 5 acres, it was like 3.5 if I remember right. Yeah. So there's nothing in Springville's code or ordinances that I've seen that I'm aware of, there may be, but I'm not aware of it, that says a developer has to put in a 5-acre park.
He's doing high density parks, he does.
Yeah, the 5 acres is 5 acres per 1,000 residents. It doesn't say,
It says within a mile though, doesn't it? Wasn't there?
The map
Yeah,
suggests
correct. You know, yep, within a
that,
mile.
But
Okay.
We're not
but
within a mile
he's
of any.
talking semantics. Like it doesn't say in the radius of.
Okay.
So he's saying just 1,000 residents
Now-
of Springville.
Now,
it doesn't.
now, please understand, I'm not making an excuse. I'm not trying to get away from helping you. I'm just explaining so that you understand what the code says.
So how do we get a park?
Okay, whose question do you want me to answer first?
Why don't you finish your statement that you were saying?
Right, that's fine, but like I said, I'm going to defer to whoever wants to be deferred to.
So
That's up to you two. You're the ones
So I
asking
just
the
want to say one
questions.
thing because I'm just been listening and like learning, and it's been super helpful. Like I really appreciate you taking the time to come here and explain it to us. But so just to sum it up really simply, it seems like the best way for us to get things into action and actual reality is to bug you.
Yeah, that's a good way to
Just to
put
come
it.
to all the meetings, send you lots
Yeah,
of
but
emails.
bug Chris too.
And Chris. So just to like basically be in that, always buzzing around your head, and then maybe this can actually happen.
That way I'll remember.
Okay. So if you remember, will it happen?
I can't guarantee that
Okay.
because I've got, there are 3 other members of the council besides Chris and
Right. So if we bug all of the members in the council,
I. You can try.
you will definitely remember us.
I-
So
I
is there a
can't-
guarantee beyond bugging you?
There is no guarantee,
Okay.
How significant
but
is
it is helpful for us to keep it top of mind.
Okay. Yeah,
Yeah.
that makes sense.
Yeah.
How significant is, like, if we ask for $200,000? How big of an ask is that compared to like?
That
for
would be
Fort-
very doable with foresight.
Yeah.
And you're giving us enough. Well, I said you want it started and done in June. That's what I was trying to explain. It can't happen that fast.
Yeah.
But with our parks
Right.
people here, with 2 of us on the council here, I don't know how much more you. I don't think it's going to go unheard. I don't know what happened before, and it's legitimate to complain when you've heard the same thing before. I get that, but I think you've got a pretty good group of ears right now that want to make something happen. I think it looks terrible, and it doesn't happen. It shouldn't look this bad. It shouldn't look this bad. And another thing, just for history, I don't know the amount of acreage, but a great deal of the property on the east side of town was donated by families. I could think of 6 or 7 of those parks that were donated. That makes it a lot easier up
That
front.
makes sense.
It does. They're named after people. The Bartholomews, the Clydes, the Childs, the
Conovers.
You know, small park, but it was donated.
Yeah.
And there's several of them like that. So I don't know that can happen down here, but we really, I don't have any. I have 0 reason on earth to not want to make this better. And I don't. I think I understand the need to say how you feel inside because you have been neglected. We don't argue that. You've been neglected. These things haven't happened, and we need to do it. So I guess I don't know how many times you've been asked to trust us because it gets pretty old. But I think with all of us here, we can put it on an agenda item. In fact, would you please put this on the agenda for our next meeting? Just give me
tell it
5.
now. We don't
Give
wanna
me.
have-
That's
tell
for
us
me.
later.
That's not necessarily for you to come. That's for me to explain to the park committee what has been going on down here. You're fine with that if I take 5 minutes
I'm
to share
fine.
with them and say,
Yeah.
let's let the whole committee be aware of. We've got some things going on the west side that aren't equal to what have traditionally been done on the east side.
Thank
And,
you.
and that's what I'm saying. And in fact, I'm happy to put it on the city council agenda and share the same thing. It's hard to make promises, but I can promise you that we're not gonna just, this is one and done. We're not gonna go back and say, oh yeah, we met him, it's over with. We will,
That isn't gonna happen.
but sometimes when we're honest and I say, I don't know how we're gonna change the budget in 30 days for the
Right.
next year.
Yeah,
But
that's
we
understandable.
can, because even Stephen knows the process. There's always room to get something. If some things come up, sure, this would be a great one to let's get going on it. But it's in truth with the bike park going in, which is kind of a sore spot. I understand that. Yeah, the one over by the creek where the soccer fields are, and we're putting in a little bicycle park right next to the swing by the rec
center.
south of the
Pickleball.
pickleball courts. We're putting in a little complex for kids to ride their bikes on with lifts and ramps and
That's
things like
amazing.
that.
It's part of the whole bike
And
park
that's going to
thing.
be happening, I believe, this summer, isn't it?
Yeah, they're starting.
So there's the one down here on
So
the
it's
Westfield
not that
Central
we're-
neighborhood.
And can anyone use that, or do you you
there's
have
a
to be
bike
paying
park.
member of
No,
the
no,
park.
it's for the city. It's for anyone. Just yeah.
Yeah, so you know where the
Just like
pickleball
the
courts
pickleball
are.
courts.
So there's a little,
So
kind of a little kid, a toddler type bike park thing going in there, which is part of the entire
that
bike park.
That's the Westfield.
So that's going in down
Yeah,
there.
so there is a
That
that,
would be-
and there are impact fees already allocated for that.
Those
So,
are
anyway,
what
I'll help
those are
you
what
with
the
that.
park impact fees are kind of going to. And David and Stacy can more fully address that because they're in the thick of it. So
I remember we said something about we need 3 council members to vote. What was that date and what is the vote?
It's June 31st, so that's what they're saying they can't.
That's unlikely.
Yeah,
Unlikely, unless he was saying sometimes something happens that suddenly they might have $200,000, and then he can slide us in. But likely
so Natasha, I wrote a letter, pretty lengthy letter to Natasha yesterday.
which I can send out because it has a lot of information.
Kind of explaining all
but everything's
this.
tentative too.
It is. Kind of explaining all this stuff. The tentative budget is included there. You'll want to pay attention to pages, if I remember right, it's 6, 7, 9, and 21 has a conclusion about how things happen. So 6, 7, 9, and 21 on that budget would be of particular interest to everybody here, I think. Also in there is a link to the Parks and Trails, the new Parks and Trails master plan, which is draft right now. But Stacy and David have, I think it's going on the agenda in a week and a half. Yeah, the Parks and Trails master plan. It's coming to the council.
Council in 2 weeks on the 17th.
So,
well, that's exciting.
so if you go to playartcity.org, you can see.
They're going to actually put that on our website, Springville's website.
Okay.
We're doing it. So they're gonna get rid of the other website just because we're so close.
Okay.
It'll be on the website.
Okay.
And
So,
it'll also be in the library if anybody wants to look it up.
so that's the draft master plan for the new Parks and Trails. Now, this next statement will answer some of the questions that you had about where they're going. So this thing is, what page was this one? I can't remember if it's this map because they look similar, but I think it's another map that the consultants have shown where they're strongly urging parks down in this area to go.
And
Part of the,
they're not all city too, right? It's like there were 3 different types of parks. There was like a city park.
yeah, there's a whole list of types, but and what each color means.
Because I think some of them spread out further than others.
Yeah, they do. It kind of depends on the park size and the population and the radius. They take all that into consideration. Anyway, the point is that the consultant has suggested these areas that we need the parks. That's why we hire consultants, so we understand where they need to go based on the numbers and population and all that kind of thing. So, as we take a look at that master plan, we have to determine what to do with impact fees so that we can purchase the property and build the parks, because that's basically where the money comes from to do this. So right now, our impact fees are $3,400 per single family residence. When you build a house, part of the whole permit and everything process, you pay $3,400. The consultants are suggesting that we need to raise that to $8,300 in order to afford to do what needs to be done here. So that little thing is coming before the council in a week and a half.
So we should maybe be in support there in
That's
support of
right.
that.
Yeah, we will support
So
that.
that impact fee is not charged to everybody. It's for new homes coming in. So it's not something you guys have to worry about. You already had your homes unless you're going to go build a new home. So those impact fees are what funds these parks that the consultant has suggested it needs to go in in these areas. Okay, I'm not sure who was first. I think Natasha.
So I have two things. So you were talking about impact fees to buy land. You already own this land, so if I understand correctly, you can't use impact fees on already owned land to make it better.
You understand correct?
Okay, and then so again,
For the
impact fees don't matter for this situation.
Well, they
Yes.
don't matter for Dry Creek. I'm just
Right, and that's why
saying
we're-
the expansion of the park properties down in this area, this neighborhood. That's what those are.
Right.
Is that why the new houses over here are getting such a beautiful lawn strip in front of them, is because they're new and they're paying their parking for this
Yeah, so
tax?
that's the
and so
builders
they
that are
get all
putting
that?
Yeah, those are the builders that are
So,
putting those in.
look,
The builders are charged the impact fees.
And
So.
we were charged impact fees as well, but
Where did
Philstone
our
went
impact fees go?
bankrupt. So that's why we don't have that situation.
Splash
Yeah,
pad.
that is,
A lot of it went to the splash pad. A lot of our impact
That
fees
is
here.
a-
That's what
that
they
is a
explained
good
last
point.
time.
It's when the banks,
But
everything, all the
Yeah.
houses went foreclosure, and then everything was bankrupt, and I think that's
So-
what happened. And then we kind of moved on, and this didn't get done.
Right.
That's what I think.
So we're
that's what they
actually
told
asking
us.
to be aligned because
Sure.
this is a unique
yeah,
area
and that's
that
what.
doesn't really, it hasn't happened in the rich areas, or like this happened because
Not our fault.
or
Well, it's yeah. I mean, it's really it's the developer's fault
It is.
because they collected the impact fees and